Good evening, everyone. I'm Ellen McNulty. I'm the president of Wise Women Travel and Travel Friends. We're on Meetup, and we also have an independent website as well. Why do we have both things? Well, on Meetup, you can't get all the information. It doesn't have enough bandwidth to put in all the information that you need on a trip. So on Meetup, you're going to find things that are just summaries. And when you go to wisewomentravel.com, you're going to find the whole trip. It's easy to reach us. You can reach us at 516-248-3496, or you can email me at wisewomentravellellen@gmail.com. Now, I see that everyone is muted, which is good. And that means that at the end of the presentation, you can also ask questions. You can type them into the chat box. But during the presentation, if you have a question, just write it down, or as I said, you can type it into the chat box. So why travel with us? Well, Wise Women Travel, we've been in business. Well, I've been in business for more than 40 years, but Wise Women Travel was started just to have a group of people when you like to travel, but you don't have anyone who shares your interests or your budget. I know I have found over the years that I have wanted to go on a trip, and you mention it to a friend, and oh yeah, I want to go, and you talk about it, and you talk about it, and then when push comes to shove, when it's time to put down the money or whatever, it is, either an excuse after excuse. They have to watch the grandchildren. Oh, I don't, I can't get off from work. Whatever the story is. So this group started so that people who want to travel can travel with like-minded people. Doesn't matter if you're married, single, or traveling with a partner. You can have your own room if you want. You can come with a roommate. You can ask us to match you with a roommate. That's a little tricky sometimes doing that, because if we don't know you well and we don't know the other person well, that's not the easiest thing to do. All we ask is that you're 40 plus and you share a love of travel and adventure. This group is the perfect way for you to travel and not have to go alone. We always have a very friendly group of people. Usually our groups are small, 10, 15 people or so. And we're always looking out for one another. So you don't have to worry about going out on a trip. Let's say you have a single room, and when we go out touring, you get stuck shopping or you lose track of time and you're thinking, oh, they're going to leave without me. No, we don't do that. Everybody looks out for everyone else. They say, oh, Mary's not back with the group yet. Has anybody seen her? That kind of thing. It's also a nice thing to have other people to dine with, or even to share your experiences. Have you ever gone on a trip by yourself and you want to remark, oh, what a beautiful cathedral, or isn't this a lovely spot, but you don't have anyone to share that with. So our group takes care of all of that. You can bring along a non-member too, to share with you if you like. And this group is not for women only. Our last trip, which was actually just this month, that came back from a 28-day cruise around Asia. We had 3 couples, and the rest were all single women. Most of us had our own rooms in terms of the women, but as I said, we can match you up with someone if that's what you'd like. So where are we going this year and next? Well, we're going to South Africa and Botswana. That's later on in the year. I think that's October. It's, of course, a safari. We're doing a Highlights of Britain motor coach tour in June. We're doing a cruise around the Mediterranean, one around the Caribbean. We're doing Greece and Tuscany. We're doing a river cruise. If you haven't been on a river cruise, that's always a nice way to travel. And we're doing Canadian Rockies by train. And of course, we have 3 Asia trips, in addition to other trips as well. So travel makes you realize that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. And that we find on all of our trips. You always find something new and interesting, or even just in conversations with the other people on the tour, you can learn a lot of new things. I always think I'm way past the age where you can teach me anything new, but that's actually not true. The people you would travel with make all the difference. So you want to make sure you're traveling with a group of like-minded people. As I said, we're all 40 plus. We're in various stages of athletic ability. So you know, if you have difficulty walking or something like that, you might want to ask about the trip, whether it's going to be too challenging for you. But most of them are not very challenging. I have difficulty walking sometimes, and that's really not an issue for any of the things that I plan. This is typical of a group. This is one we did in the Mediterranean just recently. That was in October of last year, but typical of the size of our groups. Like to keep them small so everyone gets to know one another. I don't know if you've gone on any big bus tours or larger groups of people. Sometimes you can just get lost in the crowd, but I like having a smaller group to travel with. So about me, I'm married. I've been a travel agent for more than 40 years. My husband doesn't like to travel as much as I do. So we don't always travel together. I'm usually on my own when I come along on some of these groups. I live in New York, and I also live in West Palm Beach, Florida. I have always had a full list of places I want to visit, and now is the time to get them all done. I visited more than 99 countries in the world, and I think 47 states. So I do have a lot of experience in the destinations. But if you don't see something that you have on your list, on our list, tell me about it, and we'll see if we can put it on the list and get other people to go. I always enjoy finding bargains and once in a lifetime itineraries as well. I can't help myself when I find a bargain cruise or a bargain tour. Sometimes they're last minute, sometimes they're not. But if you're able to travel at last minute, you can get incredible value tours as well. I want to welcome tonight both the new people who have joined from Florida. That's a new meetup group that we started based in West Palm. That's Wise Women Travel. Again, we also have a website called wisewomentravel.com that's a supplement to Meetup. And of course, the one based in New York, Travel Friends, which we've had for more than 10 years. We've done trips all over the world, around the US, everything that you can think of pretty much, but there's always a list of other places to explore as well. So tonight we're talking about Asia. As I mentioned, we just came back from a 28-day cruise around Asia. We started in Singapore, we went to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Korea, and Japan. Oh, and China as well. Forgot that part. So we did quite an extensive trip. I like doing longer cruises because you really get to relax on them. But we do shorter ones as well. This particular cruise, we had two different options. You could take it for 2 weeks or you could take it for all 4. I chose to take all 4. In the rest of 24 and in 25, we have 3 trips that are going to Asia. One is an escorted tour in Japan. Another one is a cruise around Indonesia. And the third one is an escorted trip to Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. And I think that visits Thailand as well. So 3 different ones just for Asia alone. Let's talk first about Indonesia. I haven't been to Indonesia in quite a while, but it is one of my favorite countries. And I was a little disappointed that it wasn't included on the cruise that I just completed. So we're doing an Indonesian discovery cruise in February of 2025. It's an 8-night Bali adventure cruise. And I think we're visiting 3 or 4 ports in Indonesia. It's on Royal Caribbean, Anthem of the Seas. I don't know if you've traveled on Royal Caribbean before, but they always have nice itineraries and all the things that you want included on a cruise. Our ports of call, well, it starts in Singapore. We visit Selukan, Bawang, Indonesia, Benoa, and Bali. We're also going to Lombok. And then we go back to Singapore. So when you're booking your air, we can do that for you if you like. It's round trip Singapore. Of course, you can include other destinations if you want to add something on before or after this trip. I always recommend anyway that when you're taking a cruise overseas, that you come in the day before for a couple of reasons. First of all, your flight could be delayed and you don't want to miss the departure of your ship. But second of all, just to get a feel for the country itself. Like, we're not visiting Singapore other than to depart from there. So if you haven't been to Singapore before, or even if you have been to Singapore before, you might just want to spend a day exploring or a day relaxing before you go on the cruise. Our pricing for this cruise is pretty reasonable. Sharing a twin room, an interior room, that's an inside room, is $946 US. Outside view, that's a room with a window, 1,056. And a balcony room, if you want to sit out on your balcony and watch the world go by, $1,249 per person. And that would be if you're sharing with another passenger. If you want a cabin to yourself, an inside is $2,038, and outside or ocean view is $2,458, and a balcony is $3,018. On all of the cabins that we're offering on this group trip, we have bonuses as well. So if you're sharing a twin room, you have a $75 per person onboard credit. That's to spend on anything you want, whether that's shore excursions, specialty meals, different types of things. If you're in a cabin to yourself, depending upon the type of cabin that you book, you're either getting $150 to $225 onboard credit. Of course, there are taxes, fees, and port expenses in addition to the prices that I just mentioned, and those are $164.53 per person. So for as little as $946 plus $164, and of course your airfare, you can have a trip to Indonesia, which I think is one of the most fascinating countries in the world. If you want more info on this trip, you want to go to wisewomentravel.com/Bali, BALI.html. If you just want to ask me a question, you can reach me email at wisewomentravelellen@gmail.com. That's probably the easiest way to reach me. Or you can leave a message at 516-248-3496. Now, I'm the only one who answers that phone, so you can always leave a message for me. But that's about the Indonesia cruise. And of course, if you have particular questions, you can type them into the chat box, or you can ask me at the end of the presentation. Now, one of the things that we decided to do, because most people are not going to fly all the way to Asia for just a week, is that cruise combines with a tour of Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. It's called the Kingdoms of Southeast Asia. So if you want to combine a cruise with a tour of those wonderful countries, it's 19 days, and it takes place immediately after the cruise. So you would do the cruise first, and then you would do Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. This is taking place March 6th to 24th, 2025. It's an escorted tour, which is a guided tour, meaning it includes your accommodations, many meals, sightseeing, entrance fees, and a number of other things as well. The price for this for 19 days is $4,199 sharing a twin room, and $4,849 in a single. These are some of the pictures I took on my recent trip. This is Vietnam. Vietnam was one of the countries I hadn't visited before, and it was some place that I always wanted to go. I felt a little guilty going there, that so many people lost their lives in the Vietnam War, but I had heard so many wonderful things about Vietnam, and they were borne out on my trip. The people were wonderful. The sights were incredible. The food was great. Shopping was the bargain of the century. So I really enjoyed my time in Vietnam, and I hope that you will too. Here's where our tour is going. So the numbers on the map indicate how many nights you're spending in a place. And I think that's really important when you're on a motor coach tour. Sure, you want to see as much as possible, but spending 3 nights in Hanoi or Hoi An, Hoi An's one of my favorite places, or some of the other places that we're going, really gives you a chance to, first of all, explore the area, to relax a bit, not having to put your luggage out every morning, not having to pack up and move on to the destination. Even if you want to, wash out a few things, it gives you 3 days to do that in each of the places. So this is a really nice, extensive tour where you're really going to get a feel for the countries that you're visiting. So we start out, if you start at the upper right-hand corner by Halong Bay, we continue to Hanoi, Hoi An and Da Nang. We go into Ho Chi Minh City and the Mekong Delta. You're then going to go to Cambodia, where of course you want to see Angkor Wat. I did not get to see Angkor Wat on my recent trip, even though we stopped in Cambodia. It was an overnight from the port we were in, so it just wasn't feasible. Laos, and then we're going to Bangkok. So if you're just doing this tour and not doing the cruise, you would fly into Hanoi and you would come home from Bangkok. Again, you can book your own flights if you want to do that. You can book our flights, and we arrange transfers and all of that type of thing as well. Just more pictures. I just think kids are adorable, especially, in the United States, how you're not allowed to take pictures of kids. There's all kinds of rules about that in a lot of other countries. Well, that's not so in Asia. People love it when you take pictures of their kids, and I just think they're just so adorable. This was at a shrine we were at in Bangkok. Wonderful displays of food. Of course, we were on a cruise, so we really didn't need to buy any additional food, but everything was so fresh and wonderful looking, all the fruits in the market. There are lots of markets where you could just spend hours wandering around looking at all the goods that are for sale, everything from clothes to shoes to appliances to food. It's really a very interesting people watching opportunity as well. Some of the highlights of this trip, the escorted trip, is you're going to visit ancient and mysterious worlds of rural landscapes. You take in a lot of the rural areas in those 3-4 countries. When we went on the cruise, we were doing more of the ports and not traveling that far inland. So this gives you more of an opportunity to see things that you might not see if you went on a cruise. Here we are this is in Vietnam. Those boats that were in there, that's me in the middle. The boats that were in there are those round, now I've forgotten the name of them. But anyway, it was really a lot of fun. We went, gliding under these palm trees. We met up with other people in the same type of boats. They did like a fabulous singing thing in the middle of this. It was just a great opportunity. And that was near Hoi An, which is where you're going on this particular tour. You're going to visit bustling cities as well, and you're going to learn something about the fascinating history in Southeast Asia. Opportunities for street food as you go through Hanoi. You're going to go on a charming junk boat. Now, I did this when we were in Halong Bay. Now, we didn't have great weather in Halong Bay. Otherwise, it would have been an absolutely spectacular thing. I think I have a picture of Halong in this presentation. I hope I do, because it is a beautiful destination. You're going to go see Angkor Wat, which is the largest temple complex in the world. And you're going to have even dinner with a local Laotian family. You're going to go to their house and you're going to have dinner there. That's one of the things I like to include on trips, that more personal, in-depth, not just seeing all the, checkbox sites. I must see this temple, I must see that, street, whatever. But when you actually get to meet the people, I think it's a great opportunity. And of course, you're going to explore the hundreds of Buddhas. There are reclining Buddhas, Buddhas standing up, lady Buddhas, gold ones, all kinds of Buddhas. And they're all very interesting and a little bit different. You probably will get to go to a temple and see some of the ceremonies that they have, and you can even experience the different types of food that are available. On this tour, we're going to have 31 meals, which includes 17 breakfasts, 7 lunches, and 7 dinners. But you don't have to worry about the other meals that are not included, because it is a nice, friendly group. So even if you're traveling on your own, somebody will say to you, well, we're going to this restaurant for dinner. Do you want to come with us? Or, if there is an optional tour, and again, you don't know a lot of people on the tour, somebody will befriend you, and you'll have people to talk with and to compare notes with. Pagodas. I didn't realize that pagodas were actually burial places. I just thought they were very interesting architecture. But I was told when we were in Vietnam that this is where you would bring the ashes of your loved ones and you would store them in there, kind of like a mausoleum type of thing. But they're beautiful architecturally. When we were in Vietnam, it was just before the Lunar New Year. I don't know if you remember from the Vietnam War. It's called the Tet Offensive. Tet is the New Year. But anyway, we were there. And the thing that seems to be popular in all the countries we went to was to be taking pictures for Instagram in order to find a husband. That's what these three are doing. They're fixing each other's hair so that they can take an Instagram picture and put it online, or match.com.Vietnam or whatever site it was. But one of the things that a young person hopes for there at the New Year is that they're married by the next New Year. So this took place everywhere, both with men and with women, all getting dressed up in their finery. So it was a lot of great picture opportunities as well. If you want to see some more of the pictures from our trip, and there are hundreds of them, you would need to go to our Facebook page and you'll be able to see some of the other pictures that we took while we were on this trip. So that is the tour around Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand. Now we're in our third and last one that we're going to be discussing tonight. That's our Japan escorted tour. When I was just on my cruise, I think we did about 6 ports in Japan. And it was I hadn't been there in quite a long time, but it was one of the most interesting things to me, is just how respectful people were of one another. They're also very friendly. Every small town that we went to, people would greet us and try to show us the best of whatever it was that was available in their town. I really enjoyed Japan. It was just the beginning of the season for blossoms. When we were there, there was only one cherry tree that was in blossom, but the plum blossoms were out. And again, it was just before the Lunar New Year, so there was some celebrations as well. This trip to Japan is taking place September 29th. It is for 14 days. The price of this one is $5,399 sharing. And if you want your own room, $6,699. By the way, all of the prices that I'm mentioning are plus airfare and travel insurance. And I highly recommend that you take out travel insurance, which I'll discuss in just a moment. What are the inclusions? Oh, there we are in front of Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji, of course, is the must-see in Japan. It's what on the back of their coins. It's on the back of some of their other currency as well. So it's something that you don't often get to see because it's often covered by cloud. And by the end of this day that we were there, it was covered by cloud as well. But we were just so thrilled to be able to see it. I hope you will too. You're going to see ancient and modern cultures of Japan. You're going to go to a tea ceremony, which is, they're very, again, respectful of each other, but very respectful of tea as well. You're going to visit a Buddhist temple, one of the most famous ones. You're going to visit Matsumoto Castle. Now, the castles in Japan are not castles in the European way we think of castles, or maybe they are, because they're fortifications as well as, castles were in Europe. But in Japan, it was where the samurai lived, and they were all, they're always on a hill and able to see from miles around, so that they always had a good viewing point to see if anybody was attacking them. You're going to go to a local brewery and sip sake, and you're going to go on a bullet train as well. So all the high points of Japan, aside from the wonderful cities that you're going to see. That's the one picture of the cherry tree that was out when we were there. And again, that was in January and February. Any of the shrines we went to, this is in Japan, lots of school trips. So any of the kids that you see in my pictures here, they weren't from the local area. They were all on their school trip to their nearest shrine. So that was always interesting. And of course, the kids all ham it up when they see that you're going to be taking their picture. This particular shrine had hundreds of those gates, the vermilion gates that you see there. And each one was dedicated to a different, a memorial to a family member, but there were hundreds of them. And so here is where we're going to go. We're going to fly into Tokyo. Again, nice long stays in the various areas. In Tokyo, you have 3 nights. Hakone, a night. You're going on to all the other places that you see here, including ancient Kyoto. Kyoto is the area that is probably best preserved in Japan. It has the most buildings that you think of as being Asian style buildings. We're going to Osaka, and we're taking a day trip to Hiroshima. This is one of the shrines that we visited. This is a Shinto shrine. The 2 main religions in Japan are Shinto and Buddhism. So at a Shinto shrine, we actually saw a wedding. And I hope I do have the picture here. Okay. I don't know if you can see under the umbrella there, but the woman in the background is the bride, and she's wearing sort of like a helmet on her head. It's called a hood. And the groom is walking next to her, and he's wearing black, as do all the members of the family. If you can see on the left-hand side, they wear very elaborate kimonos, the woman at the very back of the people walking there. In front of the bride and groom in the blue, all the way on the right, that would be the priest who's going to marry them. And then you have 2 females who are assisting the priest with the marriage ceremony. So we saw a few different Shinto ceremonies while we were there. Always an interesting thing to see the different traditions in wedding ceremonies. This is one of the places where they had so many of those torii gates that were dedicated to different family members. And again, it was a place, this woman here, although she's dressed up in a traditional kimono, she was taking pictures of the sites, but she was really there for people to take pictures of her so she could put them online. Mount Fuji again, and a bullet train. On this tour, you're going to have 18 meals, 12 breakfasts, and 6 dinners. This is another group of school children that we saw. This was in Tokyo, and they were just so thrilled to communicate with us. Anyway, if you want more information on this tour, it's wisewomentravel.com/Japan, HTML. Any of the extras that you need for a tour, airfare, we can book it from any city, or you can book your own. If you have points or you find a particularly good fare, just let us know if you want to do that. Travel insurance is most important. Travel insurance does not only just protect you from cancellation fees, which is why most people take it out, but it covers things like baggage loss, flight delays, if you're on a cruise and you miss a port, if there's bad weather in a destination. if you get so sick that you have to be flown home, that's called repatriation, and that can cost you up to $500,000. If you're so sick or you don't like the medical care in the country that you're in and you have to be flown home, very pricey. So travel insurance covers all that. And it's a pretty low investment for everything that it does cover, but I'm going to mention more about that in a moment. But if you would like to join us on any of the tours and you happen to be a member of Meetup, you just sign up on Meetup saying you're interested in a tour. That doesn't mean you're going. It just means you want more information. I don't count you as going until you give me a deposit. So it's not an obligation to travel. Your trip is confirmed once you give me a deposit. The deposits vary by the tour and by the cruise, depending on how far in advance you're booking. Each one is a little different. It could be $500, it could be $1,000. Or if you're booking something and we're close to departure, it's going to be full payment. Travel insurance. Just remember this. Always take out travel insurance at the same time you give your deposit. Why? Well, most people think that, well, I'm not going to cancel. And if I'm going to cancel, it's certainly going to be close to departure. Why should I take it now at the beginning? Well, if you take out your insurance at the same time as you give a deposit for your travel program, you are going to be covered for pre-existing conditions. Maybe you were a diabetic when you were a kid and nothing has acted up in the last, 20, 30, 40 years, but all of a sudden you're not feeling so good. And you want to be covered by insurance if you have to cancel. Well, that's why you take it out at the very beginning. Travel insurance costs the same price, whether you take it out with deposit or whether you take it out a month before departure. By the way, while I'm mentioning that, many states require that you book it at least 30 days before your departure, or it's considered insurance fraud. Of course, everybody thinks they're smarter than the average bear when they know they're going to cancel, and then they take out insurance and hope to be able to collect on that within 30 days of departure. It doesn't work like that. So you take out your insurance, hopefully with your deposit, and certainly no later than 30 days before you're going. Remember that the older we get, many insurance policies, particularly if you're on Medicare, they don't pay for any service or hospitalization outside of the country or for emergency evacuation. Unexpected events can leave you with canceled plans, and it doesn't have to be like that you're sick. It could be a family member that's sick. In some states, they even cover your pets if you have to come home because something's wrong with your pet. The cost is $70 per $1,000 worth of coverage. What does that mean? Well, if you are going on a $2,000 trip, it's going to cost you $140. Going on a $5,000 trip, it'll cost you $350. And I think it's a great investment. Nobody wants to lose, hundreds and thousands of dollars if they have to cancel. And so I just think it's a great investment to take out travel insurance. And of course, we do sell travel insurance. It's with AIG Travel Guard. So what does it cover? It covers missed and delayed flights, baggage loss or delay, accident, sickness, medical expense, medical evacuation, which I mentioned before, but even things like if you lose your passport, if your sister-in-law becomes ill and you have to come home, you're on a sightseeing tour and you twist your ankle and you need to go to a hospital. I did a tour to Ireland a couple of years ago when one of the tour members wasn't feeling well and we had to go to a doctor, and the doctor said, well, you need to go to a hospital. So I called Travel Guard. I happened to be on that trip. I called Travel Guard for her, and they led us every step of the way, what hospital to go to, who to see. They followed up after we got to the hospital an hour later. How is the patient doing? Do you need other services? They called us when we got back to the US. So I thought it was, great even from that standpoint. Some of our websites. If you're joined in Florida on Meetup, we have one called Genuine Friends South. That's a social meetup where we have about 90 members who meet on a regular basis. But we also have a travel website called Meetup Wise Women Travel. For everyone, we have a website independent of Meetup called wisewomentravel.com, and that's where you're going to get most of your information. We have a Facebook group if you want to see some of the pictures from our recent trip, or you want to ask a question, you can go to our Facebook group. And of course, you can like us on Facebook as well. Wise Women Travel is the name that we use on Facebook. If you don't get our newsletter, we do a monthly newsletter telling you about the upcoming trips or giving you some up-to-date information on the travel industry. It's also, if we do it more than once a month, it's because we have some special that we just found out about. Maybe it's a last-minute purchase, traveling, in, for example, this is February, so March or April. We have a great cruise going in April, for example, that I need to tell everyone about, that I'll send a newsletter out about. So if you don't get our newsletter, I do need your email address in order to send it to you. That's the way it goes out. Usually goes out at the beginning of the month. And you would send an email to wisewomentravelln@gmail.com. Or you can call me and leave a message, 516-248-3496. You can be the first to know about our exciting trips, our last-minute specials, and other news from around the travel industry. So I know it's hard to pick a place to go when you want to travel everywhere, and we're trying to cover everything in the world. We've been doing this for quite a few years. We've done trips to Alaska, Hawaii, the national parks, cruises in the Caribbean, Bermuda, other places in the world, trips to Europe, South America, pretty much anywhere you can think of. We're doing an African safari in October of this year. But as I mentioned, if you don't see what you want on our meetup sites, you can just send me an email or give me a call and suggest something, and I'll see if other people are interested in it. That's one of our websites there. That's the one that's wisewomentravel.com. This is an example of one of our newsletters. So what are you waiting for? Get planning and get packing and go beyond the guidebooks. Travel with a small group of like-minded individuals. It's always easy to book. You can call me, you can email me, and remember, you're not obligated to go until you give us a deposit. And we do recommend that you take out travel insurance at the same time that you give a deposit. So I look forward to hearing from you soon. I'm going to open up the chat in just a moment. If you have any questions, you can email me, you can post them on Meetup, or you can call me, as I mentioned. And thank you for coming tonight. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to open up the chat to see if anybody has a question. You can unmute yourselves if you want to talk. Anybody have a question? You're all very silent.